So here I am interfering with the predetermined schedule that I made for videos heading into the weekend because we are going on a trip because of the Vancouver Canucks. Now, I'll say this right here. Yesterday, it was my friend's birthday, so I, along with a few other buddies, went out to all-you-can-eat sushi, had a good time, went to a gym afterwards with everybody, had some kickboxing and judo takedown lessons, and it was great. You know, I had a great time last night. Physical activity, the Silk Sonic album came out, so that was great too, but upon going onto Twitter today and asking around, getting my friends' opinions about the hockey game that was Vancouver, Colorado, it appears I made the right choice, because everybody else in Vancouver seems to be in the complete opposite state of mind. I asked my family, I asked my friends, I was like, hey, how was the Canucks game? I'm not seeing it right now, but I'm looking at the notifications. Doesn't seem all too great. And boy, oh boy, do those notifications on Sportsnet, do they tell the entire story. The Vancouver Canucks lose 7-1 to the Colorado Avalanche in a game that, admittedly, I did not watch, but appears to have been the most depleted showcase of heart, skill, and intensity that this team has had so far in the 21-22 season. It's 7-1, which in itself is a bad game, but it's the way the game was played that tells a completely different story as to where this team is, contextually speaking, with their quote-unquote contention status, you could say. Oh boy, as I'm recording this audio, guess what? Tucker Poolman suspended for 2 games. How great is that, isn't it? But back to our scheduled programming, the Canucks suck. Like, wow. I saw the highlights, I saw some of the footage that I figured was more notable than others, but the way the Vancouver Canucks lost this game was probably the worst way you could have imagined it, after what was a somewhat more reinvigorating way to end off the homestand against the Anaheim Ducks, tying the game up late, losing in overtime. The team is showing cracks, dude. Against a Colorado team that does not have one of the best players in the gosh darn world, the Canucks get outscored as much as they get outshot in the first period. The Avs had 3 goals in the first, and the Canucks had 3 shots. Eventually, you watch this game as it goes further on, and there's just more goals being potted in there. Thatcher Demko gets left in after a shorthanded goal by Darren Helm, making it 5-0 with a few minutes left in the second. The game was actually on at the sushi restaurant that my friends and I were at, but my back was turned to the game, so my only real indication of what was happening was the notifications on my phone, and then when I would get a notification, I'd turn around and see the Avalanche players celebrating, and I was like, oh, look at this team, eh? They're pretty bad. Here are some comments about the game from trusted media people within the Vancouver environment that I wanted to highlight here, just to highlight how bad this game was. Rick Dollywell said this effort by the Canucks was horrible, and there's a lot of soul-searching required after this one. Jason Bruff said this, real talk, if the Canucks are going to make a coaching change, they need to do it pretty soon. You can't wait for half the season to be over. Either pull the trigger after 20 games or so, or don't bother to at all. It should be obvious, Ray Ferraro says, responding to that Bruff tweet, that this is a poorly constructed club. Poor on the blue line. They don't defend well. The PK is a flat-out debacle. I mean, seriously. Oh yeah, and what can anyone do if the top guys aren't really top guys? I mean, JT Miller is at over a point per game right now, so I guess he's showing up, but I get it, I'm reading the room. I know it's not the time to acknowledge how good JT Miller's point production has been this season, but the game yesterday was probably the worst game that Canucks fans have been treated to in a while. Elias Pettersson giving up pucks in his own zone, which result in goals scored against, big open looks for Cale Makar, who recently returned, by the way, so good to see him back and healthy in the Avs lineup. Short-handed odd man rushes against, scoring goals, special teams just really not doing their thing. And now the question is, where do you go from here? Because when you go onto social media, I get it, social media sucks. It does. Everybody hates social media, right? But when you go onto social media, I've seen so many more fire Green, fire Benning, fire XYZ comments now than I have ever seen. And I was there when the Gillis era ended. I was there when Jim Benning got all this stuff happened to him last offseason with Markstrom and Tanev and Toffoli all leaving. I have never seen this high of a quantity of the fan base wanting not only Jim Benning, but Travis Green as well fired. Here are some quotes from the man himself. He says that he is not worried that his message is not being heard amongst the lineup. And the replies to this comment are just very tongue-in-cheek. Okay, what in the world? How are you saying that your message isn't being heard when this team is losing so many games, they're performing so poorly? If your message is being heard, Travis Green, and you're not worried that they're not hearing it, what the hell is that message you're trying to send? Because this hard-to-play-against thing that the Canucks have tried to be for the past few seasons, they're not hard to play against. You just wait till one of them takes a penalty and all of a sudden you're up 1-0. That's how it always goes here. What do you mean hard to play against? This team can't kill penalties. He also said about last night's performance, we weren't close. We looked like we had a bunch of guys that were half a step behind, and we were not close. We had a lot of guys that weren't very good tonight. Horvat said we should be embarrassed. We obviously didn't come to play tonight. They outplayed us and outworked us. It looked like they wanted to win and we didn't, and we showed no response. I like that, Horvat. Thank you for taking accountability. Pearson said, we talked between periods about responding, and obviously that didn't happen during the game. It sucks because our goalies have been playing so well. Green also said, we have a lot of guys that need to show their character and respond the next game with a much better effort. This was one of those games where, after the first period, you're down 3-0. You need to show up in the second period, dude. 40 minutes is not an impossible amount of time to score 3 goals and get another one to win it. It's unlikely, yes, but where the Vancouver Canucks are in their contention status, they're second last in the Pacific, this team was supposed to be a playoff team, and a lot of people, myself included, were like, yeah, this is going to be a playoff team. They're probably going to contend for a wild card. This team needs to show a lot more than what they have shown in the first few games of the season and in the first period of this game. How are they going to respond in the second period against Colorado? Okay, it's Logan O'Connor, it's Darren Helm, it's Devon Toews, it's 3 straight goals, it's 6-0 at the end of the second, and wow, okay, that's the fight and the effort level of this team, isn't it? Travis Green, what do you mean you're not afraid that your message isn't being heard? Jim Benning, it's year 8. You have a franchise talent on center in Elias Pettersson. You have an arguable franchise talent on the blue line in Quinn Hughes. You have had so many opportunities, 7 or whatever it is, 8 freaking off seasons to build a team that can actually compete and go far in the postseason. The Canucks have made the playoffs twice in those 8 years. And if you take a look at the expected goals for percentage rates of the Canucks ever since Benning took over, this team has not had any improvement in goal production. And now you have these 2 franchise talents in Petey and Hughes entering the prime of their careers, if not already being in the prime of their careers. And this is the team. This is the blue line. This is what we have. Benning said earlier this offseason, I believe, that it was going to take 2 years for this team to be competitive again. Heading into year 8. Does it take 10 years to build a hockey team from what is essentially scratch? I mean, none of the players on the team in 2014 are still here. Most of them aren't in the league anymore, actually. So, aside from Horvat, there isn't any carryover from the Gillis Canucks to the Benning Canucks. But it's been this long. 8 years in, and this is the blue line we have. Hamonic, Poolman, Tyler Myers, a penalty kill that's so gosh darn bad that, what is it, second last in the league? And that's just this season in isolation, because the rest of the time, okay, all the good prospects the Canucks have, the Dollins and the Gustav Forslings and the Jared McCanns, they're all sent away for other assets that really don't make the team any better. There's only been like 1 or 2 good trades the Canucks have made that involve youth. Connor Garland, I guess, Oliver Ekman-Larsson kind of brings it down, and then JT Miller as well, which was a very big risk. That's the pattern that we see with Benning. It's moves that just end up crippling this team as you go further down the line. And now we have these guys. This Canucks squad, led by a Travis Green that really is not getting the best out of his players, and it's starting to become a lot more concerning. And the expectation of being a playoff team, Aquilini and Benning and everybody saying that this team is improved and that they can be good this year. But I don't buy it anymore. Do you? Let me know in the comments what you think about the Vancouver Canucks, because, yeah, I haven't been watching all these games. I've been enjoying my life, doing other things, and as a Canucks fan who does not watch the Canucks, it's kind of weird, but my job as a full-time YouTuber is to just talk hockey, And there are so many other great stories around the NHL that we can discuss and that we have been discussing. The Vancouver Canucks are just that sad, lonely, kind of miserable topic that everybody kind of knows is there, but you just can't let it infect you, because once it does, hey, that's when the quality of your own life starts to go down. Don't place all your eggs into one basket, and don't place all your fate into the Canucks right now. Talk to me in the comments. What are your thoughts? I hope you enjoyed this particular Arch Rolls 99. And bye.